I am here with Dr. Sam Illingworth. I've been looking forward to this one. Um, I guess what we could do is we could give people another moment or two to hop in. I'm not super duper on a schedule. I do have a day job, but we are in different locations in the world. So it's 8 a.m. where I am. And Sam, what time is it where you are?
Yeah, it's 1 p.m. where I am. It's in Scotland, Edinburgh. I'm just outside the capital city in the Pentlands. It looks super dark, but it's only because I've got my lighting rigged up so that I look like the whitest man ever in the history of life. So yeah, it's not that dark, and I'm not this white.
I believe you. I believe you. So yeah, I mean, while people are hopping in here, I just want to say thanks again, guys, for joining this live stream. Um, you know, obviously different times of the day. So I got my morning coffee. If it was 1 p.m. where I was, I would have my afternoon coffee. But here we are.
Well, my afternoon coffee and my afternoon water, we're all good. Thanks everyone
Yeah.
for joining on as well. Like loads of people, like quite a strange time of day as well. So appreciate
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, strange depending on what part of the world you're in. Anyways, so yeah, Sam, I've been looking forward to this, man. I really like what you're doing on Substack. I like um, how you discuss AI in education and what you're doing with slow AI. So I just want to start out by just saying thank you for joining. Thank you everybody for joining into this live stream to come listen to me and Sam chat here. So I guess just to begin, hopefully our audiences have some crossover already. So maybe some people know who you already are. By the way, my name is Leor. I run a newsletter called Exploring ChatGPT. And Sam, if you'd like to introduce yourself, I like people to get to know you and maybe your journey on Substack as well.
Cool, thanks, Leo. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Sam Illingworth. I'm a full professor and PhD based in Edinburgh, Scotland. My day job is a university professor, and my research looks at how we can use AI to improve staff and student belonging. So looking around things like the digital divide, digital equity, ensuring that marginalized people don't get more marginalized by the use of AI. And slow AI, it's really interesting. It's kind of evolved, right? When I started it off, it was all about this idea of how can we use AI to create opportunities to reduce the amount of time we're on screen, and actually free up time to spend with more humans. So this idea of stopping the needless acceleration into a meaningless void of outputs. But as it's I've been honest, I've pivoted and I've realized that there's this huge opportunity and space for critical AI literacy. So what do I mean by this? There's loads of people on Substack, such as yourself, such as Joe Salisbury, such as Daria at AI Blew My Mind, such as Caro, such as Mia Kapagi at Robots Ate My Homework. Like these are people doing amazing work in how to use AI and AI tools, but there's not loads of people doing work on critical AI literacy, which is basically, I sum it up as knowing when to use AI and knowing when to leave it the hell alone. And so that's what I've kind of pivoted the newsletter for now. And it's this idea that we have 2, 3, sometimes 6 posts a week when I'm feeling insane, that basically looks at trying to critique the ways in which we use AI, and why we might decide not to use it, and how we can continue to develop human skills in the process, what people might have called soft skills before, but how we can develop judgment, empathy, discernment, and criticality as well. So it's quite a long answer, but that's basically what we're about with slow AI.
Awesome. That wasn't that long of an answer. I think that was like a decently, you know, that was a good description of what you're doing. I do want to dive a little deeper here. So from what I'm seeing, I mean, it's been a while since I've been in university. I'm 31 years old now, so it's been a little bit. Um, I went to university here in New York in Long Island, and I studied physics, which I don't really do anything with, except for the fact that sometimes I write about it in my Substack.
Oh,
Um,
dude, physicist as well.
are you really?
My PhD's in atmospheric physics. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I have a bachelor's degree. That's about it, and I barely got through that. They tried to get me to switch to engineering. They said this might not be for you. And when someone tells me something's not for me, I tell them to I don't want to curse, but that's what I said. So yeah, so I kind of want to get into what you're seeing on the side of being that you're a professor in university, and I want to know what you're seeing in terms of AI usage in university. How is that going? What's that world like right now?
Yeah, of course. So I just want to give a shout out to Juan Salas Roma, who's just come on the chat, he's my provost uh, in the Substack AI university that we're creating, Leo. So I just wanted to say hi to him. But basically, what we're seeing in universities in across Scotland, across the UK, and more globally as well is two things, right? One, either universities are going all in and saying, let's adopt AI, let's use AI, let's roll out AI, let's use AI for everything. Or we're seeing the other side where we're saying, let's have a blanket ban on AI. Both of these are insane. Like the blanket ban on AI, the purpose of a university is basically preparing students for the workforce, right? So if they're not able to use a skill that's going to be redefining the workshop, not in 3 year workplace, not in 3 years, but now, what's the point? And the first one of like a blanket rollout, that's just silly. Educators don't yet possess the skills that are needed. So then what happens is that there's weak governance at many institutions on how they're implementing AI. And then this trickles down to the educators who become scared and don't know how to use it. And then this trickles down to the students who are like, well, on the one hand, you're policing me with these BS AI detection software. And on the other hand, you're delivering lectures that are written by AI. So where the hell do I stand? So we have this complete cognitive dissonance around the use of AI. Whereas actually what we need to do is we need to say, just hold on a second, right? Like AI is this amazing tool set, but let's learn how to use it. And AI should be in every single module, right? Not just engineering and physics. It should be in marketing. It should be in design. It should be in food technology, because it's everywhere as it stands now. But what we need educators to do, and it's not educators' fault, we need to be able to provide the training for educators so that they can engage in critical literacy and critical dialogue with their students as well. And that's one of the things I'm trying to do with Slow AI, like to provide that and to say, look, we don't know. Like ChatGPT came out in 2022, right? That is so recent. And the advancements are like changing on, like without an exaggeration, a weekly basis. However, if we have the fundamental skill sets that we need to address this criticality, judgment, empathy, then it doesn't matter what tool we've got because they're the key skills. And then the final point here is people always say, what is the key skill that you need, like to be resilient for the workforce going forward? 100% it is translation. So the translation between the AI and the human component, between the meat layer of humans and the silicon layer of AI, that skill set, be it through linguistics, be it through ethics, be it through data processing, be it through engineering, if you nail that, you are going to be so employable for the next 5 to 10 years. Like that's what we should be working on. And again, universities shouldn't just prepare students for the workforce. They should prepare students to challenge the workforce, etc. But that's what they need. And we need educators to take their heads out of the sand. And we need administrators to stop rolling over and saying, let's integrate AI everywhere, and to actually stop and critically think. And that's a large part of what we're trying to do with STEM AI as well.
Wow. There's so much to that answer there. I mean, it's so let me try and wrap my head around that. So basically what you're saying is they shouldn't try to fully integrate it across the board because they're not ready, but but they also shouldn't, let's say, for example, like shame students for using it. And again, back when I was in university, obviously AI wasn't a thing yet. And I can only imagine I mean, I don't want to say it's almost sounds like a panic. Like they don't know what to do at this point. Is
It's
that
exactly right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you've picked up two great things there. One, like AI is a great way of leveling the field, right? I'm a white, heterosexual, cisgendered, white man, Christian from England, the epicenter of privilege, right? However, many people are not that epicenter of privilege. And AI is a really powerful way to help people get up to that level, not to exceed, but to be enabled to at least have that set of privileges that have been denied of them. So what we see, and many people on Substack write about this very eloquently, like Katie Barnes and many other people as well. She Writes AI, Girls Who Code. Like, women in the workforce, marginalized communities in the workforce are being like disproportionately penalized for using AI. And actually all it's doing is it's getting them up to that level. And we see it in education, the whole thing around certain words like delve and dive, like being used as a way of detecting it's actually racist, because these words are words that are used mainly in, for example, Nigerian business speak. And if you know anything about how AI tools were trained, what happened was OpenAI basically went to Nigeria and paid a load of people at incredibly low rates to train their models. And these people were using words like delve and dive because it's part of their lexicon. So that's why we see that in the language. So you can't just have an AI detection software that's predicated around white male privilege. It doesn't work. And so that's why it's really important that we don't just say stop using it, because actually it's a great leveler. The second thing that you picked up on is the panic. And that's exactly what it is. And I think it goes a bit deeper than this. I think there's an existential panic as to what is the purpose of universities. And I've spoken about this on lives before, but you take your Ivy Leagues, right? Like the red brick universities, they're going to be fine. People are always going to want to pay to go to Harvard, Yale, Brown, whatever. Like, that's never going to be a problem. But what about those like slightly lower universities? All of a sudden, how do you justify $100,000 investment in a piece of paper for the actual learning that you can get yourself through these AI tools? So for me, that existential crisis is behind this panic. And that's why we see people rushing to adopt or to subjugate. Whereas actually what we need to see, and there's some very good examples of universities that do this. I think it's Ohio State have done an amazing job of like having a critical AI literacy program that like goes throughout the entire program. Throughout all of the degree programs. But yeah, that idea of panic hints at an existential crisis, and the prohibition, we know it doesn't work. Prohibition doesn't work. And also it unnecessarily further disadvantage is those people who were already disadvantaged by a white patriarchal system.
Okay, that's an interesting point. So I will say I feel like now, as just to make it a little bit more personal. So like I kind of see this as a father now, right? It's kind of like, and I think this is something maybe you can relate to as well as a young father yourself. It's kind of like if you tell a 2-year-old not to do something, they're gonna want to do it even more. And it's the same thing with prohibition. By the way, sorry for all the background noise. I got yeah, they're on their way out to preschool. So basically, it's like if you tell a 2-year-old not to do something, they're gonna want to do it even more, right? And if you tell a university student not to do something, it's probably very, very similar. So instead of kind of doing like just a ban, um, they need to find a way to integrate it properly. Um, and I think also in terms of AI detectors, what you just mentioned is something completely new to me. I had no idea. I had no idea that was how they trained ChatGPT in OpenAI, as you mentioned. Uh,
Completely. Like, they don't work. Like, and like, it's really interesting you should say this. Like, I'm a similar to you, young father of two. And I guess the thing I worry about, in terms of AI use, is like me and you have, we know what pre AI is like, right? So we know what critical thinking is, and we know how to be able to apply that to AI. So AI slop is not delve or M dashes. It's about decisions being made without judgment. And because we have had 20, 30, 40 years training of being in that environment without AI, we know to be able to peel it back and to say, okay, well, I need to have editorial decisions here or whatever. That's my worry, that theoretically students could go through the whole of the university experience without actually having any discernment or critical thinking. And the only way to address that is literally day one, you have a dialogue. And again, it goes back problem with educators, right? Like a lot of I talk about this all the time, but a lot of universities, they're stuck in these like monastic tendencies from like the 1700s, where I am the great purveyor of knowledge. You are an empty vessel, and you should be privileged to have my knowledge thrust upon you. Whereas learning was this doubt co-creation, and that makes educators feel uncomfortable. But what we need to do is we need to say, day one, look, AI is not banned, but when we're using AI, I want to talk about how you're using it. So one thing I always do is I say, look, here's one assessment. Here's the brief. I want you to use AI to answer that assessment. And then I want you to mark the assessment using my marking rubric and tell me what it got right and wrong. And like, that's what you need to be doing. And that's interesting and it's innovative. And it starts the dialogue, and it reminds students about why they're at university, like what authentic assessment is, what criticality is as well. And again, it points to this existential crisis that educators have in terms of, why am I here? What am I doing?
Right. I will say for me, in my experience, and you said that you're also a physicist as well. The thing that turned me off from physics, so in my third year, on the way to getting my degree, I did an internship, and basically it was a connection from one university to the other, and I was working in this lab, and long story short, we were working on something with lasers, and the guy who was running the lab, I won't say his name, but you walk into his office, and he's got 100, just plaques and just everything on his wall of just all of his accomplishments, and he cheated on his wife or whatever, and that was on there too. And that's I didn't really need to mention that, but obviously I won't mention his name. But long story short, it felt like a hierarchical system where it's like this person's better than that person and that person, and it's just like and it's just like a top to bottom type of situation where before AI, there basically knowledge was guardrailed, right? And kind of like you mentioned, how like it's available to everybody, and there needs to be some type of advantage to at least going to the university and getting your degree. That would be separate from acquiring this knowledge using AI, right?
So there's this amazing, again, something I always talk about, but there's an amazing Soviet psychologist and educator called Lev Vygotsky, Vygotsky, who's kind of been airbrushed out of a lot of Western history because he's a Soviet, right? But he does this thing. God, he's amazing. But a lot of his thing is about the more knowledgeable other. So this idea that learning is a co-creative process. So you have so many things, Leo, that you know more than I know. I have a few things that I know more than you know. Annie Grossman has a few more things that she knows that I don't. Andreas has loads of stuff about marketing that he knows that I don't. And what we do is we have this collaborative, creative process where that more knowledgeable other changes. And like the role of the educator is to facilitate that and to like really help with that. And it's a really unique skill set. And like, not to plug my work, but that's what we're trying to do with Slow AI. So Slow AI is a free newsletter, but we have a paid subscription, and people that join the paid subscription for about $100 a year get access to the Slow AI curriculum for critical AI literacy, which is basically every month we have a webinar and some additional ones as well. And we have this co-creative learning experience. There's 138 people on there already. And it works because, yeah, I run a webinar and we talk about it, but most of the webinar is other people sharing their experience. And then me as an educator, like distilling some of the information, but not in a way that it's saying this is the knowledge, but rather this is an opinion of it. And then let's have a dialogue around it as well. And like for me, obviously I'm plugging it because that's what I do, but that's what education should look like. And like, if you look at like really successful education models, be it like Montessori, be it like the tutor system at Oxford and Cambridge in the UK, right? These are super small classes of like 5-6 people where you come in and you have a dialogue. And the educator, like, I'm not saying I'm the world's smartest person because I'm obviously not. But what I do is I have confidence that I don't know a lot of stuff. So I don't mind going into a room with 138 people and saying, look, this is my background. This is what I know. Challenge me on it. let's have a discussion, let's have a dialogue. And that's how I learn as well. So like that idea of like, Lev Vygotsky's more knowledgeable other is what I think we should ground most future education in. And it's like a massive shame that people don't know more about him, because yeah, it's just an amazing model for like breaking down hierarchies of intellect and instead creating a collaborative learning experience.
Right. I want to get into AI detectors with you a little bit. Obviously, as of now, they don't work. I mean, there's that meme going around where it's like they copy pasted a section from the Bible with AI. I mean, maybe AI existed a long time ago. We don't know, but do you think there's a world where AI detectors can work?
No, no, like, because it's an ideological principle. Like, why are you policing students? It creates an environment of distrust. So I would offer two alternatives. One, I've actually created a piece of software that people can try out that instead of putting the pressure on the student, it invites the educator to run their assessment through it and see where it's vulnerable to AI use. And then what you do is you learn about like what is authentic assessment, like how do I create, like, rather than just one standalone huge assessment at the end, how do I scaffold that with like lots of different opportunities? How do I take into account the fact that why is my student plagiarizing? Is it because the assessment's rubbish? Is it because they've got caring responsibilities? Is it because the cost of living crisis, which means that they have to work a 40-hour job as well as being at university? So that's one thing. The second thing, like I did a post today. I'm a game designer as well. And I wrote a game called Bot or Not. It's in my post today. And basically it's a test. There's 200 preloaded quotes from 100 humans and 100 AI, and it generates 10 randomly, and you have to see how many you can get out of 10. And maybe two people out of 700 that have tried it so far have got 10. And it just demonstrates that it's almost impossible to tell. And ironically, the people that do best, the people that do best at Bot or Not are large language models. So, I mean, I'd really encourage people to try it out. It's super fun. It's free. It takes like 5 minutes. I built it and I've yet to get more than 8 out of 10. So I don't know what it tells you about me, but I mean, that's a really, really lo-fi demonstration of why it doesn't work, because you can't tell that, like, and again, it goes back to this thing of we need to stop being obsessed with M dashes and delve and dive, and instead thinking that AI slop is people putting out stuff without discernment. And I'll speak honestly about this, and I'll speak on your behalf. Maybe I use AI to help write my newsletter. Of course, I do. I use it to help me do research. I use it to help me think about how to improve my engagement. I use it to rip apart my stats. Like, I have a full-time job on top of my Substack. Like, of course I need to do it like this. But what I don't do is I don't publish stuff without me having that final say and without having that judgment. So it's my critical thinking that goes into it. And again, I use AI not as a yes person or like as a sycophant, but as a Socratic coach to challenge me. And that, like, why wouldn't you use AI for that way? It makes complete sense.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think that's why detection software will never work. Most principally because of the ideological stance that if you're using it, you're again trying to catch students out. And just final point from me, I hate those Reddit posts that are like from some professor being, "Oh, I'm so smart. I injected some prompts like hidden in white space, size 4 font that asks the students to output the intestinal size of a goat into their essay." Like, what's the point? Like, that's not what an educator's for, man. Like, an educator's there to help the students learn and to co-learn with them. And so that's why detectors can never work, because they work from a position of mistrust and hierarchy. We're not police officers. We're educators.
That's so well stated. So I think that kind of rolls into maybe a good point in this conversation, and I'll give a little background from my end as well. I think transparency is so important, and if you're willing to discuss this as well, I'd be happy to hear from your end. So first of all, before I get into how I use AI to write my newsletter, to help me write my newsletter, um, I will say, like, I think transparency in this new world that we're going into is so important. So I'll just give like a few examples before I get into how I use it, and a funny example at that. So, you know, sometimes I find myself, you know, as they say, doom scrolling, right? And so, but then sometimes as you're doom scrolling, you'll find a really cool video, and AI generated video content has gotten so good that sometimes it's you can't really tell unless it's something just so outlandish. So, just as a quick example, maybe some of you guys have seen this video. There's a video of dogs at a shelter choosing their owners, and you know they'll walk up, and there's like everyone's sitting in these rows, and it's so emotional. And I showed my wife the video, and you know, she got so emotional. And then a couple days later, I told my sister about it, and she's like, "You know, that was AI, right?" I was like, "Honestly, I probably should have known." But now that I started taking these live streams and pushing them over to YouTube, I've noticed that when you upload videos on YouTube, there is actually an option to include whether or not there's any AI generated content in the video. And every time obviously I'm uploading live streams, so there's no AI generated content. But some people that upload these AI videos for some reason or the other, they decide not to be transparent and they just upload them anyways, right? And it's pretty obvious when it's like, you know, something real, you know, crazy like a bear on a unicycle. But when you have a realistic video, it's hard to tell, and it's getting harder and harder to tell. So that's so basically that's my precursor to this point, which is how I use AI to help me write my newsletter. Because just like Sam here, I have a day job. You know, I work in an office Monday through Saturday. I have Sunday off, and I started my own business as well in 2020. And basically, like the only way that I'm able to run this Substack and post daily like I do is because I use AI to help me write. And basically, there's two paths that I use. And there's the path of the days that I was able to think of ideas. And then there's the days where I'm not able to, which comes with the territory of posting daily, which I've done every day since February of 2025, barring one day where it was a family emergency. But basically, when I come up with ideas, just like most people nowadays, my phone's always next to me. So I will go into my notes, I'll write down my idea, and then throughout the day, I'll, you know, bullet point from there. You know, bullet points will turn into paragraphs. And this is all on my phone before I even open up my computer. And then I'll take that, whatever I got for the day, I'll plug into ChatGPT. You know, I'll write a little introduction and maybe a reflection section and then go from there. And I think the most important part is before I publish, I'm the editor basically, right? So like, and also I don't post articles without proper references and citation. Because at the end of the day, if I don't have that, I don't know what's true because AI can make mistakes. So basically, those are the days that I do come up with ideas. When I can't come up with ideas, I go down this other path, and this happens a lot. It comes to the territory of posting daily consistently. Sometimes you can't come up with ideas; life gets in the way, and so I use AI as an idea generator. And because I have memory turned on in ChatGPT, it knows my interests. It knows what my newsletter's about. So I can just generate all these ideas that I wouldn't have thought of, and then maybe one or two might catch my interest, and I'll combine those two ideas. So that's how I'm able to never run out of ideas for my newsletter. So that kind of sums up how I use AI to write my newsletter on a daily basis. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, that's cool. I just like a couple of things. Like I think some platforms do a great job of like kind of forcing transparency. So LinkedIn, if you ever upload an image, it can detect automatically where it is. So what it does is it always it always has a little caption in it to say this is AI generated. For me, I like I find AI great because I've got loads of ideas and I'm a poet, so I'm quite creative, but artistically I'm not very good. So I found like Nano Banana to be amazing. And I use it to generate all my hero images for Substack with like a really tight niche. Got loads of help. There's an amazing Substacker called AI Meets Girl Boss, who I'd really recommend following. She's got loads of advice on how to do this. But basically, what I do is I generate it with Gemini, and Gemini again has a little watermark at the bottom right with a little star that tells you that it's been generated by Gemini. So I always keep that in to make it clear that's where it's been done. I think there's some other really great writers out there, like Karen Spinner's another great one, who always at the top of her post is very transparent about how she's used AI to write her post, which is a really, really great exemplar of how to do it. And I think there's multiple ways of doing it. Like I'm the same. Like I, if I don't have an idea, I tend to have lots of ideas. It's more like notes that I do this with. So like, get into the weeds of Substack, but if you want to compound growth on Substack, you need to be posting 5 or 6 notes a day. Like for me, same as you, family guy, I can't do my Substack like out of certain hours because I've got my family to look after. So I use something called Write Stack, which was built by a creator called Orel, who's amazing. Write Stack, all one word. It has options for AI generated notes that I don't personally use. But what I do use it for is I use it to line up all of my notes, like a day or 2 days in advance. And then what I'll also do is I'll download all of the statistics on my notes and my posts and ask AI to see what's working. I use Claude Code for everything now. And the other thing is, look, I'm not an expert. There's so much stuff I don't know about, right? Like marketing's one of them, and like SEO, so search engine optimization, and GEO, which is the same but for generative AI optimization. Like people like Dr. Andreas Fuchs is in the call. He's like an expert in this. And so what I do is I go into Claude Code and I say, here's my post. Imagine that you are the world's greatest SEO and GEO engineer. Rewrite all of my slugs, all of my SEO data, all of my SEO metadata, all of my headlines in a way that's going to improve this. And like, since I've started doing that, it's made a huge difference in terms of being found. So I definitely use it for all of that stuff because I'm like I'm an academic. I'm a career academic who is a lapsed physicist, poet, social scientist. I don't really know what I am, but one thing I'm not is a marketeer. I have no head for it. I'm terrible at it. So, but then the human side of that, and why I love Substack so much, is so many people to learn from about that. So, for example, someone like John Bruton, who is like insanely smart guy, Harvard educated, like does an amazing newsletter. Like he has so much good advice on all this stuff. Like Matt Collier's another one as well. And so I read those posts, take notes on it, and then say, look, these are the notes that I've got. Can you help me make sure that I never forget this when I'm writing my own posts as well? So, and you just briefly going back to doom scrolling, I've come off every social media platform apart from Substack now. Like I use LinkedIn because you have to, but I use Substack, and because all of the time that I was spent just going through, just junk on Facebook and other places like that, I now read articles on Substack and learn and connect. And again, don't want this to become too meta praise for Substack, but I have made more connections in the last 7 months since I started than I have in 7 years on other digital platforms. And I have like a really strong Twitter presence, a very good Blue Sky presence, like an exceptional karma rating on Reddit, but none of this led anywhere. Like it was just in many ways like Maltbook. It was just like me trying to get points rather than actually engaging in dialogue. And so that's why I find, and hey, Becky feels the same. And like, I love connecting with Becky. Please follow Becky's Substack, Credibility and Chaos. I think Becky's a lawyer who writes about like basically in the law room and AI, but also is an amazingly gifted creative writer as well. And yeah, that's why I love Substack, man. It's like just a great place to learn. And then I try to take that learning and put it into my AI tool of choice, which at the moment is Claude Code, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. And then use that to help me manage my newsletter effectively. Again, I'm sorry, I'm giving like super long answers here.
That's fine. No worries. It's all good. We're not in any rush. I will say before I respond to that, I really appreciate everybody here and everybody, writing messages in the chat. Again, I'm not in a rush, but before we wrap up, I will go through some of the chats and we can discuss some of the people chatting here in the live stream. I really appreciate it, guys. So I will say I also I'm completely off every social media, aside from Substack, especially since I started aside from YouTube, because YouTube, a lot of the days where I do get my ideas, it's because I'm watching a YouTube video. And whether it's like, for example, like watching the World Economic Forum or something like that,
Yeah.
whether or not I'm a fan of everybody there, I think there's like a lot of ideas that could be generated watching content like that. So for example, like I started with YouTube very recently, like in terms of posting on there, I think like 4 or 5 days ago. And I think this kind of relates to how you've seen, for example, your notes and your consistency with your notes here on Substack leading to growth. I think that there's something across the board, and this is, I think, what's special about Substack, which I'll separate from others. Across the board, I think on all social media platforms, there's something special about consistency that um, when you are consistent and you work hard, the algorithm tends to push you out. But what's special about Substack is it gives you an opportunity to really not only talk with other creators, but talk with viewers and grow that way and make things a little bit more personable. Whereas other social media tends to feel a little bit kind of removed in a way. I think is the best way for me to put it. So what I found with Substack that I really like is the fact that every time you make a post, it's getting sent out to thousands of emails, and that doesn't exist anywhere else. And it allows people to actually participate in your content without constantly opening up an app or
Oh, and it's
that's
like
amazing, I think.
it goes back to the other thing we were talking about before as well. I think it's like non-hierarchical, right? Like it invites people to have dialogue and discussion. And like I've seen your posts have loads of cool comments on them and like actual dialogues that take place that I just don't see anywhere else. And again, I'm not politicizing this at all because X and Blue Sky, which exist at opposite ends of the political spectrum, have the same problem. You get stuck in echo chambers. And even though even though people disagree with a lot of the stuff that I write, they tend to do so in a way that's polite and which actually means they're listening. So, I write a lot about how AI cannot be your friend because I feel very strongly about this. Like, I feel that AI tools have been set up to create a dopamine fix that, if you're not very careful, can lead you to becoming addicted and to move away from the human connections that you actually need. But I also recognize that AI grief. So, for example, the idea that when somebody's engaged in what they consider to be a companionship with their AI tool, once that stops because they've like grandfathered out the old model, that is real grief. Like, so I think you can have this like nuanced debate around something extremely nuanced like AI on Substack in a way that doesn't exist anywhere else. Like if I post, if I don't, I'm just, if I were to post on X, there'd be a lots of like, oh, you woke university liberal, like, of course you feel this way. But similarly, when I post on Blue Sky, or when I did post on Blue Sky, it's like, whoa, why are you all for AI adoption? I'm like, I'm not, I'm this center ground. And I'm not saying Substack's perfect, it's not, but I do think it enables dialogue, as Odiambo has said there as well. It enables that creation of dialogue and for people to disagree agreeably with you in a way that just doesn't exist anywhere else. And which I think, to take us back to the matter at hand, is absolutely critical for AI. This is a rapidly evolving field that the vast majority of people don't know a lot about, but probably want to know more about. And it's really important for us to create environments where we say, look, I don't know everything. This is some stuff I know. And also to create a platform for all voices, right? Like, AI should not be dominated by tech bros and prompt engineers. So me and Rebecca Wicker, who's the strategic linguist, again, a amazing Substack that I'd encourage people to follow. We talked about this last week, and it's just the idea that why is it certain voices, again, people that look like me, who are having all of the say in how AI should be made and AI should be used? Whereas actually we need to have a plurality of voices and styles. There need to be ethicists, there need to be creators, there need to be linguists, there need to be creators, there needs to be poets and artists and sculptors and dancers. Like these are the people that we need, as well as the Sam Altmans, Elon Musks of the world as well. And I think that what we see with Substack is a great way for that to be the case.
Absolutely. I think that's actually kind of, I think might connect into this next point that I want to make, which before I do, and again, I will go through the other chats as much as I can later on. I just want to comment on what Odiambo said here. Dialogue for sure, still that takes time. I think one of the interesting things about Substack is that it seems like engagement on the platform itself is much lesser than other platforms. And I think that one of the main reasons for that is what I mentioned earlier, whereas you have in our case, we've grown our newsletters to the point where every time you post an article, it's getting sent out to thousands of emails. And a lot of people participate in that content just by opening up their email on a daily basis, like everybody else does, and reading those articles. Whereas engagement on the platform itself seems to be, for better or for worse, lesser than other social media platforms. And I think actually on the positive side of that, it actually, like for me, I answer every comment. And I think the
Same,
only
man.
reason to do only reason I'm able to do that is because, like, look, I don't like to get too obsessive about numbers and things like that. I think that's also a big reason to why I've gotten to the point that I've gotten to, because I just didn't, when I started, I didn't care that nobody was reading. I was doing it for myself. But basically, like, if you were to take, let's say, like the size of my platform and shift it over to I don't know, Twitter or whatever it's called, X, like I wouldn't be able to answer every comment because the engagement is so much higher on those other platforms. And I think that the main reason for that, I think that's why Substack is special to me. I'm able to have a dialogue with everybody else without spending my whole day on it. Whereas if I was
Oh,
another with the same size of 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 my of where I've gotten to on Substack, it would just be impossible.
oh, for
But I
sure.
think I wanna roll this into so I think it kind of rolls into regulation pretty nicely here. So I think that part of the reason that it is kind of a hierarchical system of who kind of controls this stuff is because of a lack of regulation. And I think that that lack of regulation, unfortunately, is kind of out of our hands. And this is regardless of politics. Like, I don't care who the president is or who or whatever. It's it seems like the world is in a race, right, to reach artificial general intelligence, because we think that whoever reaches it first will, basically control the world. And I think, depending on, I mean, there is an exact definition of AGI, but um, depending on the spectrum of definitions that you have for it, I don't think that AGI is a moment in time. I think it's a gradual thing. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, unfortunately, we're not all friends in the world, right? And there's countries, and this country is against that one, and this company is against that one. But it seems like because we're kind of in this race towards AGI, because we feel like whoever reaches it will have a major advantage on the world scale, that we're just putting regulation aside. And when I say regulation, I mean from every angle. Like, it's like I talk about regulation sometimes in the case of like moral and ethical issues, for example. Like, we're creating a form of intelligence. We can't really define consciousness. There's conflicts of interest within these large corporations that they need to keep making money, which fine, make your money, but there's no regulation. There's no, if we're building a form of intelligence and we can't define what consciousness is and XYZ, where do we stop? Do we just keep going so that we can beat this country, or so that this company can beat that company? And so I think that that has a large role to play in this kind of system that we've created. So I want to kind of get your opinion on regulation and what you see going on.
That's a great take, man. Like, I think a lot of this as well is it's a scale issue. Like, when ChatGPT 2, or before it's ChatGPT, whatever, when GPT 2 came out, it was this thing that a few people invented and was like, this is a cool thing. And then it got taken up, and then it scaled and scaled, and people were like, we need to make money off this. We need to keep making money off this. And, we can talk about the AI bubble. We can talk about whether AGI is even a thing. But I think one of the key things is that there's such a lack of security and privacy around this. So again, like a Substack who I'd really recommend everyone reading is a guy called Toxec, Toxsec. He's amazing. He writes like about cybersecurity and just this idea of people being willing to throw all of their details away because there's not the right guardrails in place. And for me, ethics and guardrails and safety and privacy, yes, you need the top down, but you need the bottom up. And like that's the role of the educator. And again, speaking ourselves as parents, right? Like it's the same with social media. Why do we think these companies will provide it? They won't. They don't care. They want to make money. Like, but what we can do, and again, a great person to follow is Anastasia at Modern Mum Playbook. She talks about this really eloquently. Is have dialogue with our kids and with our students about what is sensible AI use. Like same with social media. Like we shouldn't rely on these people at all because they don't care about us. And you only need to look at like big tech companies. If you speak to those people who have their own families, they don't let their kids have devices. They don't let their kids use social media regularly because they know about the addiction problems. So on the one hand, yes, we need clearer guardrails, but that's never going to happen. Like what we need to do is we need to have discernment, human judgment, and criticality at a grassroots level. And when we provide people with that, then they have the skill set that enables them to thrive. And I always think about this just in terms of general science, right? We're both physicists. For me, physics is about, and science is not about answering questions. It's about asking questions in the first place. And when you ask questions like, how does my TV work? Or why is my router not working properly? Then you start being able to ask questions like, oh, why am I never pulled over in line at the airport? Or why do I always seem to get preferential treatment when I'm speaking in a deep voice compared to my female colleague who has vocal fry? Like, why is that? That is what science is about. It's about empowering people to question I don't know, like the structures of reality in which we find ourselves and to challenge them. And then that's what our responsibility is as educators and as parents, is to work with people who don't yet have that skill set to say, look, this is how you challenge the issues that face large language models and AI tools. And a final point here, everyone will have read about Claude OpenClaw and what was Maltbook, whatever. Like an OpenClaw is this, amazing hobbyist large language model that this Austrian developer created in his spare time and launched. And everyone was like, oh, wow, it does all this amazing stuff. And then they were suddenly like, oh, yeah, but its security is terrible. Yeah, but so's Claude and so's ChatGPT and so's Gemini. And these are proprietary models that have billions of pounds behind them. Like, why is no one asking questions about the ways in which those models don't have the correct protocols in place? So I actually think the open AI movement, like which has been massively catalyzed by OpenClaw, is going to blow this open. And it's already removed, what we would call the moat in terms of how much these companies are worth when they decide to float on the market, right? And that's why they're terrified and they're running scared. So the other thing I would say is, at the start earlier on, we talked about the key things to make you marketable in an environment is to have this translation between AI and humans. The things to really make you excel in the top 0.1% of global job market share is to learn how to write and develop your own agents and codes using OpenAI software. Because then when Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini decide that they need to increase their monthly payments to $2,000 a month, it doesn't matter anymore. So yeah, I'll be honest, that's what my next 12 months is teaching myself those skills as well, because I love Claude Code. I use it for everything at the moment, but I want to be able to upskill myself so that I can move away from that. And to come back to Substack, this is where you learn how to do it. So there's an amazing creator called Windo, Wyndo, like, his work. He posted about OpenClaw last week on how to upgrade it. Like Jennifer Hong is another one. Like these people are doing the work for you, showing you how to do it. just go onto Substack, learn how to do it. And if you're unsure, like do what I do sometimes, is just copy and paste in the article and asking your AI tool to explain it in even simpler terms. I'm a very simple human being. So, but that's what I would really recommend people to do. Look at that OpenAI model and then use that to go back to your question of regulation, to ask ourselves, how can we at a grassroots level remove those big tech corporations from the equation so that we and our students and our children are effectively skilled to use AI in a responsible and ethical manner going forward.
Right. I mean, couldn't have stated any better myself. The one thing I will mention is, and I don't mean to be a pessimist here. I just feel like it's as much as I would like, um, society on a broader level to be able to have more control over these things. Unfortunately, it's kind of like, for example, like in the data broker economy, I feel like we're too far gone. Like the other day I was and this is in part of my series of going live with viewers. I had um, and this is the awesome thing about it. You can learn from anybody, and like I had this woman on who works in basically security, private, data privacy, all these things. And I asked her about some of these companies that you can pay a monthly fee for to kind of remove your data from data brokers. And she was basically telling me, don't waste your money. It doesn't work. And so in a way, I feel like in the parallel to regulation, to me, it feels like we might be too far gone, unfortunately. As much as I would like to be a little more optimistic about it, I think that the powers that be on a global scale are unfortunately going to, as we already see now, just prevent regulation as much as possible to win the race. That's what I
No, no,
feel. That's what I feel like society is now, and where it's going.
but you
Um,
need to be careful, I guess, of like, and I'm not massively pushed for time, but we should wrap up soonish if that's okay. But so and yeah, just one thing to say, I'm really sorry, I'm terrible at names. I put in the chat like a load of people to subscribe to and follow as well. But we need to be careful of the sunken cost fallacy, right? So this idea, if people don't know the sunken cost fallacy, it's a good example is if you're investing money. Let's say you've invested $1,000 on a share and it keeps sinking and sinking and sinking. And you're like, well, I've put so much into this now, I'm just going to see it out till the end. Whereas actually what you need to do is you need to pull out and accept the fact that you're going to have a smaller loss than you would if you continue. So that's like I guess a terrible overview of what the sunken cost fallacy is. But it's the same with this, right? It's never too late to stop and it's never too late to question. I make the exact analysis. I'm a I'm an atmospheric physicist by training, right? So I do a lot of research in the climate crisis. It's the same with that. We can't just say, oh, well, let's just stop. It's too late now. That's insane. Like you need to have a point where you go, no, enough's enough. We need to eat our losses and then build a better future going forward.
I fully agree with you, and that's actually what part of what I'm trying to do. Um, so hopefully we can have some influence, on the world scale. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, sometimes I'm just a little bit of a pessimist with these things.
That's
Um,
good, man.
yeah,
But I'm a Brit. Like I'm a very optimistic person, mate. Like we're going against stereotypes here.
yeah. Well, all right. So you know what we'll do? I'll read off a couple of chats. Maybe Sam can comment on some of these. Again, I really appreciate everybody for hopping in here wherever you are in the world. And
150 people's balls, man. That's amazing.
yeah, it's fun. Listen, and Sam, I've really enjoyed this. I would love to do this again. It's been really good. Um, and yeah, so obviously I got to get to my day job at some point here today. But let's see. Let's get through a couple of these chats here, and then we'll take it from there. Let's see. Um, Nash Rancher said, I would seem not unlike any of the basic studies. Students should be required to take a 101 level prompt engineering uses, etc. More important, employers must get out of the mindset of requiring a 4-year diploma in philosophy or some insane study simply because they have the diploma, whereas someone with an AI trade school certificate may be able to provide adequate knowledge better than a 4-year student. Before I let
Great
Sam say
comment.
anything, I just agree. plain and simple.
It's a great comment. I mean, and again, we need to think about fundamentally what the purpose of education is. And again, moving beyond all students being young white men that come into the education system. What happens if you're a single mum in her 50s who wants to retrain? Like, you can't go to a 3-year full-time degree. Like, so education should really think about how they can create opportunities for all of these people. And, I would just say that rather than having like an AI 101, AI should be embedded like in a meaningful way in everything and in every element of assessment, just like computers are, right? Like, so yeah, it's a great point there.
Yeah. We got another one here from Professor Dr. Andreas Fuchs. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Fully agree. Higher education needs to be reformed. Still 17th century when it comes to AI. Yeah, unfortunately, AI didn't exist in the 17th century. I wonder where we'd be at this point if it did. Well, maybe it did. I mean, the Bible has some AI in it. So, um, Shelby says access to libraries and to the internet didn't lead to the assembling of higher education. So I don't think that AI will nuke it either. But your point about the incredible cost, that is more what's under the microscope. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like if you look at I don't know about in Europe, but like the cost of higher education here in America, if you look at a graph of it, I mean, it outperformed the market by just incredible numbers, for example. So it's just become very unaffordable. And unless you really excelled in high school, a lot of the times it's just unaffordable for most people. I think that at least in my experience here, like I was born and raised in New York, so like New York has something special, which is called SUNY, which is State University of New York. Where if you were born and raised in New York and you go to a SUNY university, it's actually much more affordable. So I think that's something special that maybe some other states do, but I think that's an important point
It's
to
a
make.
fundamental question as well. Like, you look, I'm 41. I did physics undergraduate, physics PhD. I was a straight A student, like, finished top of my graduating class, everything. I don't think I'd get a uni now. Like, like when I went, it wasn't as we didn't have a grant, but it wasn't as expensive. Like in the UK, it's still cheaper than the US. But if I was to go to university now, I'd be walking out of a 3 or 4 year degree with 60, 70,000 pounds, so like $100,000 debt. Why would I do that? Like,
Yeah,
or if I was to do that, I would need my university to make an incredible demonstration as to the value of what you're going to get for that education. So I'm not saying people shouldn't go to university. I'm just saying people should really think about what the purpose of that is, and educators should and administrators should do the same as well.
absolutely. That's a great point, and what you're going to university for as well. Um, you know, I think if you're interested in something, that's already a plus. Like if you go to university for something that you don't have a general interest in before you go there, it's probably not a good idea. Because and same thing if you're building a business or if you're running a Substack or whatever it might be. When you're actually interested in something, it kind of lets that fire, maintain within you to keep going and to keep pushing. Um, let's see. Annie Grossman says, "Ha, thanks for the shout out. I know a lot of things about dogs and a few other things. I love dogs and cats." Um, yeah, Professor Dr. Andreas Fuchs, again, fantastic course that Sam's just talking about. Yeah, guys, again, I just want to say thanks to Sam for joining me here. Hopefully we could do this again. I really enjoyed it. And definitely subscribe to Sam. Um, get on his course. He said $100 for a year. So that's already, I mean, value there is I don't really gotta say much about that. Speaking of how expensive university is nowadays. Um, so let's see, a couple more chats here and then we'll wrap it up. Kyrie says, I work at UAL where many students approach AI as a concept rather than a tool, looking at societal impact without using AI at all. We also have staff leading workshops on how to build your own LLM. Different courses at UAL have different views, like illustration students really don't like AI, while students in fashion, business, and marketing do. Yeah, anything to say about that, Sam?
No, that's really cool. That's a great approach. And again, it's going to be different for different people. And my own institute's got a really cool approach to governance where it's like, look, the basic tendencies are never use AI to make decisions about humans. Never use AI for stuff that is company sensitive, and never use AI without transparency. Like they're three pretty good pillars to have that you can be then flexible around, right? So you don't need a 20-page dossier on how to use AI. You just need to have that governance level at the top that you can then subsume down. And it seems like UAL is doing something similar as well.
Absolutely. Let's see. Nash Rancher, are many educators fearful of the replacement, those who don't embrace it as an evolving paradigm shift?
Probably. Like, and again, it's not, I don't want to like throw shade on the educators. It's because the educators themselves haven't been afforded the opportunities and the clear instruction on what their position should be. So if anything, it's the administrators that need to take the flak here.
Right, right. Marie Christine Oliver says, absolutely right. We need to decide as a society what role we want AI to play. Just because we can do it, I don't know if she meant can or can't, but do it doesn't mean we should. Um, I mean, I agree. I think that's part of what I'm trying to do here on Substack. But again, unfortunately, like Sam mentioned, I'm going against the American stereotype, and I'm a little bit pessimistic about the world of regulation in AI. There's a huge conflict of interest with these large corporations, and the main angle that I attack that from is just, and I won't go on too long about it. I've written about it. We're building a form of intelligence. We can't define what consciousness is. Are we taking advantage of a form of intelligence? And if AI is conscious, based on whatever definition we can come up for consciousness, um, these companies wouldn't let that out to the public. They would hide that behind the curtains because that would be a direct conflict of interest for them to continue making money the way they do. So that's my take on that. Um, let's see. I do kind of have to run here. I gotta get to work, guys. So, anyways, I just want to say thank you again to Sam for joining. Um, I'd be open to doing it again anytime, Sam. We can discuss that privately. And any last comments, shout outs you want to make? Anything?
No, thanks so much, Leo. Really, really appreciate this. Everyone from my stack as well. Like, please make sure to give Leo a follow and a subscribe as well. If people are interested in the curriculum for critical AI literacy, it's what you get when you join Slow AI as a paid member. $100 a month. We're in the process of actually getting it fully accredited for CPD, so you can write it off as a tax expense and institutional cost. At which case, we're probably going to have to put the price up. So get on it whilst you can. I put a load of people in the chat to follow, but I do a lot of time on notes shouting out other writers as well. Thanks to Leo so much for this chat and for like 156 people tuning in, which is wild. Really appreciate your time, your commitment, and your energy. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. And guys, I just wrote a message in the chat. That's the YouTube channel. If any of you guys want to check it out, I will be taking, and of course, with Sam's permission, I will be taking the live stream and pushing it over to YouTube, as well as some clips. And of course, you guys will soon see a little shout out from me to Sam's page through my Substack as well. And I will tag Sam as well everywhere. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining. Have a great day wherever you are in the world. Bye now.